Welcome to the Chromaniacs, your weekly look inside San Diego FC and MLS. I'm Craig Elston, joined by my fellow Chromaniacs, Tony Sanchez and Alex Pena. Tony, what's going on?
Well, we are 1 week away from really the ramp up of this season for San Diego FC with some actual game previews. Right now, not a lot of media availability also, so we got some cool stuff heading into this episode with some, maybe assumptions on what scrimmages happened and what the scores were. Let's just fill in. Let's just fill in what we think. Alex,
they're not going to tell us. We can just make up our own realities, Alex.
Oh yeah, and then just fill in the blank of San Jose versus San Diego FC. Bayern Munich and San Diego FC. I think someone probably scored a hat trick. Who knows? But yeah, it's great to be back here. And the hottest merch item I saw over at Disneyland was not Mickey Mouse. It was San Diego FC merch. I saw a good amount of it over the weekend when I went to San Diego FC. I was also at a beer fest on Friday, and same thing. A group of people had a lot of their San Diego FC merch and shirts and hats and all sorts of things on. So yeah, over the past year, the word has spread.
And how many of them were Chucky Lozano?
I did not see one Chucky Lozano jersey.
Wow, hey, Mikey's word is spread. Everyone sold their Chucky gear and went to Disneyland. It's just Pellegrino jerseys everywhere you look. Well, it is season 2, episode 3 of the Chromaniacs, episode 31. In the history of the show, it's all quiet on the Western Front. That's what it is today. From last week's recording to today, and we are recording a day early on Wednesday, January 21st, because tomorrow, Thursday, January 22nd, the Sockers play up in Ontario, and I will be there. And then Friday, both y'all are busy. And I'm sure I can find something to be busy about on Friday, too. We'll figure it out. So we're recording a day early. So we don't have any training ground sound today. In fact, as Tony told me, right, they're not doing it at all this week.
Not at all this week. No media availability for San Diego FC this week. They said, hey, let Wave have it. They had their first media availability, but nothing for San Diego FC as of this moment.
Any scrimmages are closed, and they're not releasing any information. They haven't made any news, signed any players, or, sold or loaned any players wearing number 11 since we last recorded. So what we're going to do tonight, we'll, just sort through the dust a little bit, and then we'll get into a roster preview, because next week it's time to preview Pumas, and then we're going to have matches. Literally, we're going to be breaking down match 1, and then the following week, match 2, and the week after that, it'll be time to get ready for the home opener and the season opener for MLS on February 21st. So it really is an accelerator, and as such, I don't mind having a little bit of a dormant spot here where we can put in the wonkier, roster preview. Let's go position by position. Let's really break it down for the SDFC fans. What do they have today? And that is, Alex, understanding there's 10 more days. As we record this, there's 10 more days for Tyler Heaps to move Chucky and or do something else and do something dynamic. Do we expect that? Do we expect anything dynamic? I mean, other than roster fringeries, do we expect anything dynamic in the next 10 days?
I mean, there hasn't been any rumblings or anything about a move. So I absolutely wouldn't be surprised if they just terminate the contract just to get rid of Chucky Lozano, but also that frees up the roster spot, and then it frees up salary cap space. So if they have to go that route, then that's the way they have to go, just because that spot is very valuable, and you really need that to. I think there's going to be another domino to fall where you're going to bring in somebody. I don't think it's going to be a designated player spot just at this moment, but you could bring in somebody else, something of need maybe in the midfield, maybe some other areas, but they really need to get rid of the contract, or transfer him out. A loan really doesn't do much here because you still have the contract, you still have the budget charge that goes into the cap. So yeah, a sale of the contract or just terminate it.
I mean, he's here. He's doing Verizon ads. And he seems to be enjoying his time, and that's your episode of Chucky Watch for today. For this week, he's doing his thing, but can't they just do like LA Galaxy? They signed a DP, obviously, because they have a roster availability with Ricky Puig with a season-ending injury that opens up that slot for them to fill. And they just not give him a paper cut and say it's a season-ending paper cut, and just slide in something underneath that, and just I don't know, like that's unfortunately been the story for this club in the offseason, and not necessarily can they replicate. And it's interesting to see that that's the case, right? Like the big media storm for San Diego FC this offseason is Chucky Lozano. And yes, he's your superstar, but I feel like that's overshadowing everything that they did in the league itself, because not a lot of people that are talking, and all these talking heads from Mexico, from Spain even, and talking about the situation, address the fact that he plays on an MLS team, and a successful MLS team who had a great inaugural season, probably the greatest inaugural season of all. Like, this is all just kind of in the fog of this situation with Chucky Lozano, and it seems like everybody is still kind of within that, navigating, having their feelings, which is fine, except for the team. From what we've heard from the team, Mike Ibarras, the captain, Yepes Verskov, we heard it last week on the Sound, is that they're focused, that they've been able to manage the situation with or without whoever is in the locker room. This is a team moving forward, and I think that's definitely the case where they've moved forward and they're ready. They're prepared. And they know that if they don't score against Pumas at home, there might be a Chucky Lozano chant. But guess what? That's not going to deter them from doing anything differently moving forward, because that's just the team mentality of San Diego FC right now.
I've seen, the online various, Facebook groups and internet comments, and you've got the spectrum from we're better off without him, get out of here, old news, moving on, to the folks that say you're going to lose half your crowd. You're going to lose 70% of your audience because they came to see Chucky, and you don't have a Mexican national on your team now. You used to, and you don't. And not only that, you're casting him aside. You could have him, but you choose not to have him. So we're going to choose not to root for you. And I'm like, really? I mean, really? I don't actually know. I don't know. Could they take a hit at the gate? I think losing is what's going to give SDFC a hit at the gate, a lot more than simply Chucky Lozano. But I do ride that trolley. I do see the 11 jerseys, the 11 hats, the 11 scarves. There's a lot of dead merchandise in San Diego right now for an ex-player. And to me, I'll just repeat what I've said before. As a club, if you make this decision and you announce it, you have to follow through. So you needed to have a sale prearranged, and you clearly don't. You needed to have a loan pre-negotiated. You clearly don't. If you believe the various, as Tony said, Mexican talk radio channels or various internet things, I read that Chucky told the team, I'm not going to stand in your way. You can negotiate my sale. You don't have to put it to me for approval. Just, get my name out there, basically. Get my contract out there. Is that true? Who knows? Chucky has not said word one. And clearly he and his agents believe that it would be unwise for him to say word one, or else he would have said it by now. He would have put his opinion out in the public sphere, but clearly they think that would be only a negative to his movable value. But if the team fails to do that and does what Alex says and terminates the contract, as a fan and a consumer, I need to know that they're doing that and it's literally billionaire washed it away. What? 23 million? What? I find that in the cracks of my sofa. I get that on my real estate, dividends 3 months a year. Like if that's going to be the case, cool. And then you're going to respend the money on the next guy. Great. Okay. Do it. It's money. It's not mine. But if it becomes we terminated the contract and, boy, we're really up against it now. And, hard times, belt tightening, frugality. We really got to play the youth. This is a youth academy. We got to play the youth. Like, okay, don't sell me a bill of goods. So it's the same opinion I've had the last 2 weeks. So sorry to be repetitive, but we're 10 days away and the onus is on the club. It's not on Chucky. Chucky wants to play. It's on the club that doesn't want him to play to move his butt and not have this hold over through February 3rd in Pumas. He needs to be off the roster by February 1st.
Yeah, they got to do it.
I mean, it's imperative. Like that should be the one thing on the transfer to-do list for Tyler Heaps and this team. Like that's it. Like just get rid of him. You get any doubt out of the question of anybody. It's like, well, he's there. You can play him because clearly that's not what they want. That body language right now from everybody that talks about this from the club is just we're over this, and clearly it's not going to be a distraction whether you like it or not. It is going to be a point of discussion. Hey, don't you wish you had some more firepower in the offense? Why isn't the offense talking? These were talking points with Chucky on the squad at some point. Like and lo and behold, here comes Amal Pellegrino, just kind of not knowing the rules his way into the club, and just plays amazingly. Is that going to happen? Are you going to go ahead and just go and into the season knowing that at some point you're going to bring in a bunch of loans? The half of the starting lineup at some point were just loans. And this is the building blocks again for the squad. There is just a little bit from the pod, the official podcast that they have, where Mikey Vadas talks about what his intentions are for this team. And championships is something with San Diego that's always big. Does what he say move the needle for you?
What's next? And people will question, can they repeat it? Was it just a fairy tale beginning? And I think that will be the wrong question. Mm-hmm. Externally, they can ask that question. The right question will be, can we improve it? And I'm not talking about results because I never talked about results. Mm-hmm. Setting goal results is not how we got there. It's how we showed up every single day. It's how we woke up in the morning, spent our day, went to bed at night with intention, with ambition, with hard work. That gave us a chance of doing something special. And we need to see if we can improve in that mindset, that process, that day to day. Because if we can, then I know the long-term prediction that I have that the club will be a giant, will be safe and in good hands. And we'll give ourselves a chance to do something special again.
But does that include a championship?
Yeah, that's a lot of good coach speak, but yeah, we should be looking for trophies and winning things and not be a club that's just going to be building, developing the youth and all that, which it's going to be good when it happens, in the future and you sell off all these young players and you get a lot of money for it and you get profit, but it's all about reinvesting in the team. And just like Craig said, they have to, whatever they do with Chucky, they have to reinvest that and put it towards another designated player, because playing with one designated player is not going to be good enough in this league. You really have to get at least two to do, win a championship, win a cup, win MLS Cup, win Champions Cup, because the level of competition, as we saw just last year, it's on a higher level, and we got defeated by a team that got Thomas Muller in the middle of the season. I mean, and I hope that we can be a team like that can reinvest, get a designated player in, and go on a championship run in 2026.
I mean, for me, it's the perfect process talk, and it's a guy who's staying in his lane, not getting braggadocious. I don't need Mikey Varas to start predicting that we're going to get silverware this year. That would not be the correct message for him to send. In fact, it would sound really weird right now for him to say something like that. So for him to get into the granular, it's not Phil Jackson. It's almost, I hate to come back to Mike Shildt. But by the way, Mike Shildt's never won less than 90 games in Major League Baseball in a season. The worst he's ever done is 18 games over 500. So, like, it's that fostering that winning mentality. How do you show up every day? I mean, all of that is great. That's great talk. If he has the right roster, and we're doing a roster preview, if he has the right roster, the prediction he said there is, he said, my prediction is this club will be a giant, and that would be in safe hands if their process continues. And then he said we'd have another chance to do something special. That means back to the playoffs with a chance to make a run. So that's where I am personally level setting my expectations for San Diego FC. I'm listening to Tyler Heaps. I'm listening to Mikey Varas. Tyler Heaps said our ownership is giving us the opportunity to improve the club. Unless they want to sell me that getting rid of Chucky Lozano is improving the club by subtraction, that means you've got to have addition. So I'm expecting movement. I'm expecting it before February, which means in the next 10 days. And if not, I think that a question is being asked, because San Diego FC is telling me they're going to be a giant. They're going to contend. They're going to be back in the playoffs this year. This is a team that's going to be in it every year. Maybe there's that random year where someone gets hurt or something bad happens. But, short of that, they're going to be in it every year. And that they're going to do that by doing it the right way and having the best process, having the best preparation, the best training, the best mindset with the academy that's backing them and reinforcing the whole thing. And if that's the case, amazing. So, Mikey continues to roll with, for the most part, just always saying like the exact right thing, to the point where you're almost like, wow. But now he's got a multi-year extension. So I would say he's auditioning for someone else. These are the perfect things to say to go be a European club manager. But with his multi-year extension, presumably that's off the table. So maybe he's just a great coach that has run into our town, and that would be pretty sick.
He's gonna be U.S. men's national team after World Cup. Like, it's just a matter of time. And the thing too is, soccer sometimes carries impatience, and it's going to be interesting to see if that eventuality does come. And again, this is later years talk, where what if San Diego FC isn't doing what they would like to do, or just isn't performing? Will the pressure of the fan base get to a club like this, where sometimes the pressure you saw from on Galaxy a couple of years was so high on the GMs that they demanded excellence? Next year, they ended up winning the championship. Like that's going to be interesting, just the development of San Diego FC, or it's going to be, hey, always process. And then the fan base is also going to jump on that and say, hey, this is part of the process. Or because again, you can shield yourself behind that. I spoke with Landon Donovan and Nate Miller for San Diego Loyal long enough to know that it's sometimes it just doesn't matter until the very end, where you see like, this is how it goes, and this is where we're at now. And then suddenly, boom, season's over, and hey, it was all great and fun games, and we had a great time.
As we know, the playoffs can be over, and that's why MLS instituted their backwards ass start with a 3-game series and then go to single games, because they wanted to make sure that every team that made it at least had 2 weeks of experience of being a playoff team in a playoff, moving forward. So you are in a forgiving league in that sense, right? Like 6 out of 15 don't make the playoffs outright. So and 7 make it no matter what. So, like, that's very, very safe odds to stay in. SDFC keeps the expectations right up here. Tyler says we're going to improve the club. Mikey says we're going to improve our process. Mikey says we are not distracted. Everyone is pulling the rope the same direction. Everyone has eyes on the prize. The prize is beating Pumas on February 3rd, beating them, scoring multiple goals, shutting them out, not giving them a road goal, and heading to Mexico knowing you've given yourself the absolute best chance to advance. That's got to be the expectation. So, what's the roster? Who are we going to throw out there on February 3rd? What's the most likely 11? Understanding there's 10 more days. Someone could be tossed into the crowd. But short of that, Alex has come up with the most advanced graphics in Chromaniacs history.
Fact.
Hard fact.
Yeah, thanks to Tony for giving me this the field,
Ooh,
the Azul, the Azul field.
For everyone listening to the audio podcast, not only were names put on a field, but then the players kind of like zoomed in. It was very like Commodore 64, like 8-bit excitement. Like it was sick.
It came in like Space Invaders.
Yeah. Like, doot, 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 doot. And here they come. All right. So we've got a front line, as we have heard our coaches and leaders say, Amal Pellegrino, Lewis Morgan, Anders Dreyer. Do we expect those 3 players to start on against Pumas on the 3rd?
I think that's a really good question because it seems like Lewis Morgan is probably they're going to take it easy with him, right? Missing the whole season, probably has to ease into some competitive games, so he might start or just for maybe just a few minutes. We'll see, or might be able to come in late. But obviously, Anders Dreyer is there. It kind of sounded when we heard some training sound, he's ready and he's back and he's ready to play. And Amal Pellegrino, if everything we hear is true, that he's taking over for Chucky Lozano, so I could pretty much say like this sounds like your starting front line with Pellegrino, Morgan, and Dreyer.
The one thing that I would say is that I've been told to my face multiple times by Mikey. I don't know why I said it so aggressively. To my face. That
in your face, Tony.
No. Actually, yeah, aggressive. That Marcus Varson is aggressively healthy. Like he is ready to go. Like he could not be more healthy, and he's going to be, coming into the season and showing everybody what he was meant to do all last season. We'll see. We'll see if that's the case, but. Some of the good things about this lineup in general and the squad for SanDiego FC is that we've seen the dynamic aspect of it. Amal Pellegrino last time in last season's exit interview, Tyler Heaps and Mikey Vadas both reminded us Amal Pellegrino can play multiple positions, and that kind of like just reminded me of Amal Pellegrino in multiple positions and just him not working on that striker position, finding his way and telling us the world, I'm not a striker, I'm not a 9. But it seems like that may be something that will potentially start going into the year of him going into the 9 position. And also same thing with Lewis Morgan. Lewis Morgan can also play on the left, and a healthy Marcus Varson can lend itself to be able to play 2 dynamic players on that same pitch, and then give Amal Pellegrino, who's still up in age. That's the thing. Like, Amal Pellegrino plays a demanding position for not just his age, but his build. Like, it's incredible what he's able to do. And he does just have that baby giraffe stride sometimes. And it works. It just works. I'm all credit to you. But is that going to be a factor? And really kind of making sure that Emma, who is right behind Amal, doesn't see as much playing time. And I think that's one of the things where, unless Emma Boateng has just reinvented himself, you don't want to see Emma Boateng on this lineup. There are some on this depth chart I was looking at, like, if you see this player starting, there should be questions unless they're having a great season.
Well, I would say that that's the case, Alex, of when we look at the second line, just again for the audio folks who don't have the graphic up on the screen, Pellegrino, Morgan, Dreyer, your front line, your backups left to right are Boateng, Ingvartsen, Maiton. Now, we've already talked about this. Maybe Marcus starts. Maybe Marcus starts and Morgan starts at left wing and Pellegrino comes in as the 60-minute sub, and that's how you manage a 37-year-old's legs through an entire year of soccer, at least in the first couple of months. Or maybe it's the other of that. Maybe Pellegrino starts with Ingvartsen and it's Morgan, who's the guy who's coming off of a longer-term injury that starts on the bench and comes in at the 60th minute or the 75th minute and locks in. But for that to be the case, Marcus Ingvartsen has to be healthy, successful, and productive. And if so, it gives San Diego FC an option. Because when I look at the other guys on that second line, Alex, I see, as Tony said, Boateng, you want him to come in when Pellegrino's tired at the end of a game just to run. And frankly, that's the same with Alex Maiton. If Alex Maiton is starting, unless he's taking a big step forward in 2026, that's a big step down for San Diego FC. Never mind the third guy on the list, Tomas Angel, who gave up his number to Morgan. And I don't know, I'm sure he's given his soul to the game, but I don't think we're going to see him on the pitch for SDFC this year.
Yeah, that's right. Who knows? I still listed Angel because he's still on the roster. Maybe there's a chance they'll keep him around, but the entire second line of this depth chart here with Boateng and Ingvartsen, Maiton, not guys you really want to see out there starting a match, and hopefully it doesn't get to that point. What worries me, what's a great concern for me, is the striker position, the number 9. You got two guys that were pretty much, well, Morgan absolutely out for the season last year, and then Ingvartsen on and off last year, right? If those guys go down, we're gonna have to rely on Angel, or we're gonna have to play some, kind of like last year. You got to move some guys around, so you have maybe Valakari in the 9, Dreyer, or maybe put Dreyer out there, put Maiton in. It's a little concerning that we're kind of relying on two guys that are pretty much rehab guys on such a crucial position that we're really hoping that they can score goals this season. Hopefully we see a lot more production out of the 9 this season. And then on the other side too, Pellegrino, 36 years old, and we're kind of expecting him to start somewhat, maybe half of these games. That's a lot to rely on for a 36-year-old, oft injured players, on your front line. And you got an MVP caliber player in Dreyer, but he can't do it himself. He's probably going to get 2-man mark the whole season. So you really got to put these pieces together. Hopefully San Diego FC has figured out the formula here.
And hopefully we can keep adding to this graphic, and it's a living document here. When we can add Chucky Lozano outside of the pitch, because he's technically off on the roster still by that logic. But two names that I did hear Mikey Varas. First of all, Anis Saidi, who is a 17-year-old, still very young, but he had promise. Had he stayed healthy, he would have been featured in that 9 position a little bit more throughout the season than we previously saw. Additionally, we did hear from Mikey Vadas himself. Brian Zambo is signed through the International Academy of Right to Dream. So he's also an option that can be on the offensive side, mostly on that left wing. But again, if right now people that we see on the roster and know are in the footballing plans, then this is essentially what the depth chart is, and it's not It's not looking pretty. It's somebody needs to put Tomas Angel, not so close to a live pitch.
Well, I like that. Maybe more realistically, the graphic would have Saidi as the third team center, and maybe is adding more youth depth on left wing. And you're saying that's if everything went wrong, that's what we would do. We'd play kids.
Mhm.
We'd play 17 and 18-year-olds, and we'd take our chance. And that's probably what San Diego FC would do. Bottom line for me, looking at this position group and thinking best case, worst case. Best case is pretty straightforward. Anders Dreyer. But here's the problem, and this is where my analytical mind gets me a little bit in trouble. I'm looking for room for growth. Can Anders Dreyer do better than he did?
Mm.
That's probably the absolute best he can do, right? Like, does he have a 50-goal contribution season waiting in him? Does he have a 45-goal contribution season waiting in him? Or would it be the most likely scenario that however good a season he has, a few goal contributions are taken out of that bucket? Because right now, if you're game planning against San Diego FC, object one, stop Anders Dreyer, period.
Yeah, and it went both ways. He wasn't just a goal scorer, and he does have 19 goals in his career, just a couple seasons ago. So this is something he can do. He almost had 20 goals this last season. If they would have gave him that last minute goal he scored, I forgot against who, but they waved it off because time expired. So he would have been a 20 goal scorer for the season. But what he did with his assists and who he gave those assists to, that's an interesting list because it was to Chucky Lozano and it was to Milan Elaski. The counter goes up for today's episode. But that's like 10 assists right there out of the 17 he received. And you're kind of hoping that if he can't score goals, he could still get the assist. But on who's going to receive them on the other end, it's going to be Lewis Morgan, Marcus and Martin, those two if healthy, and then Amal Pellegrino. It did seem like they linked up pretty well at the end of the season into playoffs, but they got to do it for a whole season though. And yeah, having that short sample size, I don't think that's going to be enough to really show us that can last a whole season. Maybe it could, but we got to see it. We got to see some playmakers out there, and everything we heard about Lewis Morgan with New York Red Bulls and what he can do. It seems like he can be that guy, but man, I'm always weary about relying on injured players because it's always that possibility they could get hurt, and because they have a history of this. The history is there, so it's like they can't be a reliable person that you can count on for a whole season.
Yeah, no, and last thing on this too, and as we'll move in here to the midfield, and thing to keep an eye on as we talk through the roster is a personal pet peeve of mine is just teams that are over reliant on one player. And right now, looking at this front three potential of just positions, there's going to be an over reliance on one player, and we'll continue to see if that's going to be the case moving through the midfield because we have some returning players as well.
Well, yeah, you've got the starting three that look rock solid. You've got Jeppe Tverskov, your team captain, who was so great last year, a year older, but he's still in his prime. Anibal Godoy is, a year older, and he was a veteran to begin. So you always worry about, is there a drop off there? But the team obviously values his leadership, his toughness, his bite. He is on, set to be that six for the team. Well, Tverskov's the six, but Godoy out on the right wing. And then Valakari, was really good as the 8 last year. He was versatile, but he was definitely better in the midfield than he was up top. Kind of like the front line guys. To me, it's a best case, worst case thing. Like best case, just kind of rounding that out. Best case for the forwards is Lewis Morgan leads the team in goals. That's the best case, is that he's healthy. He's the one. Everyone's focused on Dreyer. Dreyer keeps setting up Morgan. Morgan keeps scoring goals. That opens up the wing. Pellegrino stays healthy the whole year. That works. Same wise for the infield, the midfield. If Tverskov is able to stay healthy, he was healthy as an ox last year. If he keeps his level of performance, if Godoy can stay on the field, Valakari, he's one of the younger players that you've extended. You like what you're getting from him. That's great. You look to that second line, David Vasquez, Pedro Soma, Alejandro Alvarado, who missed a lot of last year with injury. I think Alvarado is a big X factor because he showed some promise when he was out there. Soma and Vasquez are teenagers, and maybe that's the future of the team. And I'm really curious what Pedro Soma has to offer this team. There's also always the possibility that you could push Manu Dua up into a midfield role and a center midfield role at that. So that's something to keep in mind. But kind of just like the first line, guys, I look at this and I say, this is okay. This is good, but it's got a narrow path to stay good all year. Like the depth really isn't there, and you're really counting on repeating performances from players who you don't necessarily have to believe that you're going to get the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think Yepe probably the most solid player on the list in the midfield. So I do believe in what he can do, and he could probably have another career year next season. But when it comes to Ani Valakari, I like what I saw at the end of the season. I think he was better than Luca Del Torre, but I really wish we could have gotten a upgrade there because I kind of do like Valakari just moving around the midfield when needed, and I like him being that super sub, and he played in each game, every single game for SanDiego FC. I would have liked having him more as a bench option, and then upgraded that position in the offseason like a Christian Espinoza. I think that would have been key right there. But you can also have Morgan. I think that's what I heard. Morgan can probably play in that midfield too. It could be Pellegrino and Vartson, Dreyer, Morgan in having that type of attack. But if something happens to Valakari, then we're gonna have to rely on David Vasquez playing there. Same thing with Yepe. It's gonna be young teenagers being in that midfield, and that's a very important position for this team, especially with their play style. You can't have any of these guys kind of go out because it's gonna mess up the entire flow of the system here.
The wait and see of this midfield for both, again, Tyler Heaps and Mikey Varas is Pedro Soma. That's the player that everybody's pointing at. Hey, just watch out for this kid because he's going to be something special. He's going to develop. I think, again, for Alejandro Alvarado, he just carries that MLS experience very well with his youth. Unfortunate with his injury. But then Oni Valakari, I think, is a player that they realized that they're going to go ahead and bet on. Sure, we can go ahead and get an upgrade in the attacking front for a DP even. Tyler Heaps has been quoted on saying that. But I think for right now, Oni Valakari, they believe, is enough to carry this team through MLS. And with David Vasquez can possibly contribute, sure, like you have somebody up there. But again, is this midfield overly reliant on Yepe? Yeah, this whole team is also pivoted on Yepe Tverskov and his successes. Dreyer, anything you throw to him, like go create what you need, do what you need to do, go for it. In the midfield, it has to go through Yepe. And again, are you really confident in a aged Anibal to be able to take over a game if Yepe goes down? Again, you want to go ahead and assume he's going to be healthy the whole time, but that midfield right now, and with the amount of players right now, that's 15. That's half of your MLS roster right there. And I would have wanted to see something else done in that midfield just to give a safety blanket. and not just safety blanket on defense, but on attack. And that's something that they're looking into improving for sure. Is it going to happen in this window? Possibly not. And is it going to be a big time name? Possibly not. Again, like you're not likely to get a Thomas Mueller. And again, that's going to be the interesting strategy for Tyler Heaps. He's now learned what it's like to go into the season with 2 DPs and have that consistency grow. And then you saw it be successful the other way, the backwards way of roster constructing with Vancouver, in having everything in place and then activating a DP to go ahead and be that catalyst to go to that next step. And we'll see if that's how they go about it this time. But I'm not mad at the midfield. I know what this midfield is, and I just, for the safety of it, I just would want somebody else to go ahead and have a little bit more experience in MLS or just in general. Because again, Anibal, he's going to be he's going to play all out. Let me tell you. But there is just a little bit that's going to be on the back of his mind of, don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. No. Like I cannot get hurt.
Yeah. Especially for a World Cup, he's going to the World Cup and he has the tattoo. He's been, living and, playing for this opportunity for himself, and he wants to be there. So he's going to do everything he can to stay healthy, until May, once they start playing, or in June this summer. So, I think he's going to probably play a little cautious because World Cup is big for him.
Well, when you see it on paper and you see all of that, 2 things are absolutely crystal clear. One is that the DP has to be in this side of the field. And the second is that you literally miss Chucky Lozano. I mean, I don't give a hoot what management says. If you added Chucky to that depth chart, it changes everything. And it pushes everyone down a peg in the right way. But because of it, now this team is in a spot where you're asking older players to hold the water like all season long. And if they go down, you're going from a veteran player to a teenager, someone who can't even vote yet in a lot of cases, and asking them to carry the mail. That's going to be hard to do. So I would say incomplete on that side of the field. Let's go to defense now and look at defender.
Here, let's bring him in. Boom, 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 boom.
All right, so you got the classic that we saw last year with the one big veteran in Chris McVeigh, Mano Dua, the emerging star on the team, and then Luca Bambino out on the left defensive flank and Oscar Verhoeven on the right defensive flank. Behind them, the names are pretty fascinating. You've got a 3-kid, 1-vet second line, Kieran Sargent, Ian Pilcher, Paddy McNair, and Wilson Eisner, who's one of the newcomers to the team. Behind that, you've got a boy named Sue, Oswald Sue. You've got Andres Reyes. You've got the rumor of Andres Reyes.
Yeah. The essence of like a eau de toilette and the perfume.
And you've got Leo Duru as well. So you've got some depth here. Obviously, for most of the season, guys, young defense was thought to be the potential Achilles heel for San Diego FC. Right now, maybe counterintuitively, tell me I'm wrong, I would say this is the strongest position group for San Diego FC right now. They've got the depth in this group that, and the young performance so far. Maybe they all take a big step back this year, but if they don't, if they actually grow and take a step forward, I feel like you've got the depth to even take a couple injuries in this group.
Yeah, and it does seem like each line has like a weak link and a part of it that could be stronger if they would have brought somebody in. And to me, it's the right back position. But other than that, Luca Bambino had a solid year. Chris McVeigh, Mano Dua really embraced that center back role. Well, we maybe he can move up to the midfield, play Godoy's role a little bit. That would be pretty cool to see, especially if McNair stays or Reyes gets healthy and he finally plays. And so maybe they can move Duo around a little bit. But I like the back line a lot more heading into year number 2, especially now that we know what we have in Luca Bombino. Yeah, solid group. And then yeah, and I also do like the depth pieces. I do like Ian Pilcher. Hopefully he starts to play a little bit more in his natural position. Plenty of options in right back, but it's that one's almost like a wild card where anybody can play there. Any of the 4 we listed: Verhoeven, Eisner, Kumado, Duru. We'll kind of have to wait and see what we get.
Look, this is the position where the defensive the defensive team is here, and they are very young. They are experienced, and they've proven that they can take it to the best that MLS has to offer until the last game. Last game is where they were really kind of, it's what we expected. It's that last game was what we expected the entire season to be for this defense. And the potential for that can be repeated, especially for a team that's so young, that's learning habits and the way to play. There's a way to go ahead and get those out and build better habits. But also there's a way that they have years to learn. And because of that, they have years to make these mistakes and experiences. This is also the position where you have the most stock in order to go ahead and get rid of. When Reyes comes back, and he plays a game or 2, maybe he gets you a red card or 2, but then it can be a situation where you're just like, you know what? Addition by subtraction. Same thing with Chucky. From what I heard last year too, he was also not the best locker room character. And so that starts to really put into question, okay, well, for a while there, he was injured, then he was healthy, then he was healthy enough to play. And when he actually had the surgery, season-ending surgery, he didn't tell the team. The team found out via his Instagram post coming out post-op. So, again, that's kind of the Andres Reyes situation right now, which I'm kind of impressed that he outlasted Chucky for that reason. But he does have a good pedigree in MLS. He's a good MLS center back, and if that's your 3rd, 4th option on center back, then you have an abundance of riches. You can potentially move him. Same thing with Paddy McNair. If he's not there, that opens up a roster spot that you don't necessarily have to fill with another defender. You can have a lot of dynamic play with the defenders. You can move this 4-3-3 into a 3-5-2, but that means you're going to need somebody else in the midfield because then you don't have any midfield subs. Those are the players that I could see right now maybe moving. Leo Duru, he may be gone halfway through the season because his loan does end halfway through the season. And so you might not want to replace that. You may want to go ahead and welcome somebody in on the midfield attacking front and say, hey, we're going to be fine with Eisner, Verhoeven, and Kumado. I think Kumado is the best fit on that right back position for the style, but it's just a matter of him being healthy and fit as well. So Chris McVey, again, this is the move that Tyler, I think, is the underrated move of the season, is finding Chris McVey and putting him and just played excellent wherever you needed him, except for the last game. And that's the player that's a leader, a veteran, and has that experience. So, yeah, I mean, and Luca Bombino, hopefully he stays for a long time too. Like that's the one where the Sharks are going to be circling. Just watch out for Bombino.
Yeah, it's weird. Like at the beginning of last year, you thought, well, the forward attack, you're set. You got Chucky, you got Dreyer. We'll see how this works. Midfield, you got the steady Yepe, you got the veteran Godoy. Okay, the back, oof, boy, this is going to be weak. This could be a real project. Now I feel just almost backwards. Like I think the defense and the young defenders look strong and confident and give the team energy and give them a backbone. The midfield's the same and a year older, so it makes me worried. And the forwards are We'll find out. Is Morgan the double-digit goals all-star type guy, or is he the play 3 games and have the Ingvartsen spot on the podcast each week? We're like, well, where's Morgan? What's the Morgan update? Morgan's running on a side field. Oh, where's Waldo? Is he in the training pictures? Let's parse the Instagram stories. So health is going to be just gigantic for this team's front line. All right, last position group before we wrap up, and this is the most steady of them all. Same guys: Dos Santos, Cisniega, Ferree. What's the status with Dos Santos's face?
Well, he's on track to be on recovery, but from what I've heard out of training from several sources is that he's just not feeling as comfortable as people may want to right now. He may not be feeling as comfortable coming back from the injury. It is a very delicate recovery, especially, it's in the area of the face, the orbital bone, and just kind of that area for a goalkeeper who's jumping and jolting and moving around. He actually mentioned it in his last interview coming out of the season, is that he had just started to be allowed to run because he wasn't feeling comfortable, because this is something that it's a bone. It needs to stay put. And if you're moving around and jumping, it moves. And he was mentioned like, yeah, it's weird. It's uncomfortable. I just got my vision back 100%. And so, from a health standpoint, like that's the first thing that needs to be taken care of. But then from a confidence standpoint, how is that going to affect him coming back? It's going to be left to be seen. Yeah, he's your goalkeeper that you extended. You would hope that he's going to be fine to come back and play. But the reality is that I'm not too sure out the gate in the first quarter of the season how healthy he's going to be and confident in order to make that jump and be placed as the first day starter.
Well, what that could mean, Alex, Pablo Cisniega isn't red carded for CONCACAF, right? He's red carded for the MLS season opener.
Mm-hmm.
So Cisniega could play both legs against Pumas, and then that gives Dos Santos 3 more weeks to try and get to a fitness and health and confidence standpoint to be able to start. Because if that doesn't happen, Cisniega sits the opener, and it's got to be Ferree starting for San Diego FC. They don't have anyone else, literally.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll see how healthy Dos Santos is going to be. If he does get that time to, get better, get accustomed. Yeah, I have been seeing him in those training videos that they post. So he is out there. It's just getting that comfort level, and hopefully he's ready for the season. But if Dos Santos is 100%, and obviously Cisniega is 100%, we could even throw Furry in there if you want. But I think this is probably the most controversial position. Who's your goalkeeper for 2026?
I think CJ, if he's healthy, deserves first crack because he did a good job. Cisniega, for the most part, was really good at the end and in the playoffs, but he wasn't perfect. To the level that I'd be like, for sure, it's Pablo. And I've been Pablo's, I've been a Pablo backer, the whole time. And I do think he's a good shot stopper. Dos Santos was a good organizer. He was good with his feet for the most part, very dynamic sometimes with his saves. But I could certainly see a hot hand situation if it's not an injury situation. I could see the net change hands, 3 times in the season or 4 or 5 times in the season, just depending on how things play out. But I'd probably, if he was 100% healthy, I'd probably give CJ the first lick. And then if he's not, then it's got to be Pablo. And if and here's the problem for CJ, Tony. If CJ isn't ready to start the season and then Pablo plays well against Pumas, you kind of got to start Pablo at that point. You can't really afford to just be like, all right, CJ, good luck. At that point, it's got to be Pablo's job to lose.
Yeah, and we saw Mikey do exactly that. They played the hot hand and really gave confidence to the goalkeeper that was out there because they felt confident. It's a position of confidence. You have to be on your A game, and you're the position that if you have one mistake, that's a goal. Like just that's a conversion rate. Mistake equals goal. And for the confidence level that Pablo Cisniega had at that point in the season was high, and then what ended up happening is training happened. In training, this goalkeeper room is locked in, and that definitely matters. There was a point where CJ was staying a couple of, just a good handful of extra time after training to go ahead and regain that position of starter, and he got it back. And there's really a lot of jockeying in position in training, and Duran. Let me tell you, Duran looks different, if not just visually. I don't know if you've seen him. Just that beard just adds just years to him and his confidence. And he's probably, again, he is a keeper that is on that pathway of youth and the philosophy of this club. This is your first signing, San Diego native. They take credit for him. They actually say from the Right to Dream Academy because he was in FC Northland, which
there you go.
And so and he plays in the U.S. Young Men's National Team. Like, he has that pedigree, that experience. He's on his way to be an MLS keeper, and there is a chance that he also gets a couple of looks. CJ's not ready to go. He's number 2. Pablo Cisniega, he's not the most comfortable when it comes to this system, especially when he has to sometimes go and play when you see him on the heat map into that center defensive mid area. He's not the most confident. He's also a little slower tracking back than CJ Dos Santos, who got a own goal scored by Chris McVeigh. You're not going to, if that happens again, it's going to be another own goal. And Duran Ferry just fits those two styles perfectly. He's a great shot stopper. He has a great, just a build, great reactions, but also really good with his feet. He's been really good with his feet. He's learned, actually, Craig, this, Coque Vegas, a Spanish goalkeeper who, to this day, in real life, one of the greatest touches I've ever seen. Like, just the way he handled the ball at his feet as a goalkeeper was impressive. And so this is kind of the pedigree that Duran comes and learning from. So this is the most contended, but it's going to be CJ if healthy. Pablo Cisniega is there, but if CJ for whatever reason cannot go, and you have Pablo Cisniega and Duran Ferry, I can see a world where there's a move where Duran gets loaned and another keeper comes in. I would hate that for him. I do believe he's ready for this moment to be a third, potentially second option. But again, just for the sake of roster construction, that can also be a maneuver that San Diego FC pulls.
That'd be tough. Yeah, that is a really good point. Because that'd be tough. I do want to see Ferry out there and be that third option, and at least if he can somehow beat Cisniega or Dos Santos to be a number 2, that'd be incredible. But I have seen the growth. I've seen the development. I've seen the beard. Kid looks great. And I heard that we don't have any Mexican nationals on the team. Pablo Cisniega, he's right there.
There you go.
Come on, promote the guy. Man, I would, yeah. It's a controversial pick. I think they'll go with Dos Santos to start the year, and then kind of feel it out. But Cisniega's, he was a very strong keeper, especially in the playoffs. I think that's kind of, he's waiting in the wings. If anything happens, if it does go south, they do have Cisniega or potentially Ferry. But we'll see how I don't think it's there isn't 100% choice. Like, okay, this is going to be Dos Santos for 2026. He has it for the whole year. I think if anything happens, they're very quick to, pull the player, put somebody else in.
If it winds up Ferry by the end of the year, what a story it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Duran Ferry. That'd be pretty exciting. And for the old loyal fans, it'd be really exciting as well. All right. Great graphic. Great breakdown. Look at that. Our show, Chromaniacs, episode 3, all quiet on the Western Front, and it doesn't matter. We come out with a roster preview, thoughts, Gave it all to you. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me say, please give us that thumbs up on YouTube. Hit the like button, and we get, usually we're getting close to 1,000 views on YouTube. Why don't we get close to 1,000 likes? What about that 1-to-1? If you like what we're doing, hit the thumbs up button, please. Show us that you like us. Comments are helpful. Engagement is helpful. Always read through the comments as the week goes on. Someone thought I was ripping Mary's Donuts last week when we talked about GTM. I'm like, no. The opposite. I'm saying when you go to GTM, you got to stop at Mary's Donuts. It's right there. And the donuts are the best. So just to prove that we do read the comments, thank you so much. Make sure to click subscribe to everything SanDiego.Futbol is doing. And if you're listening to the audio version, hit that 5-star rating button for us, as well as writing out a nice review of why SDFC and MLS fans should listen to the Chromaniacs. Tony, tell everybody what's going on, and let's plug GoFundMe. Let's get you guys plane tickets to cover the World Cup.
Well, that would be a wonderful thing to do. San Diego FC came into our lives and really helped push us into being accepted as World Cup journalists, according to FIFA, Fortiva, and I. So you can go ahead and help the journey. We have now activated a GoFundMe for the World Cup. So go ahead and check it out. Here it's going to be on all of our bios on SanDiego.Futbol. That is the big push, the one big ask. We've never asked anybody for anything. This is all out of pocket, out of 2 YMCA part-time jobs to full-time jobs to whatever it is now. Go ahead and support us on there. And speaking of one, Craig, we are actually 1 follower away on Instagram from 700. So if you're that one,
all right,
make it a nice round number. Alex?
Yeah, I'll probably be writing this week about some GAM numbers that came out today. I'll be breaking down GAM, TAM, just some projections, some estimates that we might have for that we could play around with for San Diego FC. I'll be posting that on ChromaticFC.com. I do have a Chromaniacs button. You can click on that and check out the show too. It'll take you directly to this episode once it's posted. So come check out ChromaticFC.com. Subscribe if you want to know a little bit more about GAM and TAM. Subscribe and it'll go right to your email. How about you, Craig?
Oh man, nothing like doing the content for the GAM fam. That's where Alex has it cornered. GAM fam, I got you.
Exactly.
Well, in addition to following us on Instagram at the Chromaniacs, you can follow my personal account at 619 Sports and Life, where I occasionally post soccer content, mostly wave and soccers, but maybe we'll change that this year. Who knows? We'll keep that rolling. Meanwhile, you can follow the San Diego Soccers, which is our pro indoor team that's in season right now. Tony and I, in fact, did Soccer's Overtime, our live Wednesday show, a little bit earlier before we recorded this show. You can find that and every one of our shows from past seasons as well at SanDiego.Futbol on their YouTube page. And check that out. Padres Hot Tub continues apace as we're about a month away from spring training. You can find our weekly shows wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube as well on Padres Hot Tub. And if you'd like a deeper experience, you can support us at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, where we do multiple patron-only episodes per week, have an incredible Discord, and so much more. In season, we do sometimes 5-6 episodes for patrons because we're doing post-game shows. So all of that promotion is done. Show is done. For Alex Pena, for Tony Sanchez, I'm Craig Elston. Thank you so much for supporting us. And until next week, vamos, SDFC.